Wednesday, May 28, 2025. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you had a long weekend, and I hope that your week is going well and that you, your family, your friends, everyone in your world is staying strong and healthy right now. And I hope that you were able to enjoy the Memorial Day weekend if you are here in the United States. You know, there was so much going on in the world of sports. We saw Alex Palou win at Indy, a little messy at the beginning, kind of smoothed out at the end. We saw Ross Chastain come from behind and win at Charlotte. The Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers just might be on a collision course in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll see if they can keep winning. And then we have those NBA playoffs that have been completely insane. Last night, we had Game 4 between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference. And this series has just been nuts. I mean, can anyone figure this out? It almost seems like the worst place to be in this series is up 20. Because if you're up 20, you just might end up losing. Last night, the Indiana Pacers become the first team to actually win a home game in this series. And now they have the Knicks in some serious trouble. Hey, can either of these teams hang with the West if they do make the NBA Finals? Honestly, I wouldn't think so. Having said that, I didn't expect either one of these teams to even get this far. So I shouldn't say that. But the eastern side of the NBA has been crazy in the postseason. Over in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder put the Minnesota Timberwolves on the brink of elimination on Monday night after dominating Minnesota in games 1 and 2 at home. The Thunder went on the road and got crushed in game 3 by 40. And honestly, if they lose game 4, even though they were up 2-1, hey, that series is absolutely up for grabs. But the Thunder found a way to survive. They get the road win in game 4. You know, they knock down shots when they have to have them. They get stops when they have to get them. And yes, I hate to bring this up, but the Oklahoma City Thunder do get the benefit of the refs' whistles. But honestly, here's what I think they're doing. They grab on every defensive possession. They push you, they hand check you, and they know the refs aren't going to call everything. And so as a result, they get away with a lot. Yes, Oklahoma City fans will say, hey, we get called for a lot of fouls. Yeah, you get called for about half as many as you should be getting called for. And then you start seeing the other team get frustrated. And they're going, hey, what's going on here? When we hand check, when we grab, you call us. But OKC does that so much that the refs kind of let some of it slide. Well, if you are an opponent, if you're facing the Thunder, you better adjust. You had either better adjust and say, well, then we're going to start doing the same thing at the defensive end. And you better adjust at the other end and say, hey, we better expect contact because you're going to get it every single possession, all possession long. Also, I am hearing about how the Thunder are just loading up on Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards. And they are. You can see it. They go out and they look to take away Anthony Edwards and then see if anyone else on that team can beat them. And right now, no one can. Ant scored 16 points in game 4. And after the game, what did he say? He said, hey, I made the right decisions. I didn't force shots. I didn't force things that weren't there. I just took what they gave me. Isn't it interesting to hear that? Isn't it interesting that they've been able to just take him away? Because please know this, and some of you are too young to remember this, but know this. Teams in the 80s and 90s loaded up to take Michael Jordan away back in the day. In fact, the Detroit Pistons said, all we're going to do is knock him to the floor on every single possession. Everyone key on him at times. There were 4 people stopping Michael. And it didn't matter. I know we want to compare the modern generation. Oh, they're so much more talented than the previous generation. Oh, the old heads still propping up Michael. Nobody took Michael away. Ever. It just didn't happen. Hey, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com every week and seeing what new things we have going on over there. We have links to the podcast. We have links to new articles each week, and we have links to Daily Dose gear. You might need a new t-shirt, a new hoodie, a new sweatshirt. Make sure you stop by DailyDoseSports.com each week and check out what we have going on over there. Plus, if you ever do feel the need to email the podcast, you can reach us at dailydosesports@gmail.com. Hey, today on The Dose, we have a number of sports news stories to get to. I mean, from the NBA to college football to the NFL, we have a number of things we've got to get to today. So we are going to be very, very news heavy for you. And we will have the return of the Daily Dose Top 5 for you today. It is going to be a little bit NBA flavored. But let's go ahead and jump in right now. After winning his first scoring title and leading those Oklahoma City Thunder to a league-high 68 wins, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did earn his first NBA MVP award. The league announced that last Wednesday. Now that, of course, was just a few nights after Gilgeous-Alexander's Thunder beat Nikola Jokic's Denver Nuggets in Game 7. And you might remember that Gilgeous-Alexander actually finished as the runner-up in last year's MVP voting, which Jokic won. It was his third in 4 seasons. But this year, SGA received 71 of the 100 first-place votes in balloting, with Jokic getting the other 29 and finishing as the runner-up. Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo was third. Hey, SGA led the league with nearly 33 points a game. He shot nearly 52% from the field, and he averaged 6.5 assists, 5 rebounds, and almost 2 steals per game. The only other player in NBA history to average at least 30 on 50% shooting, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal and a half is Michael Jordan, who did it in 87 and 88 and in 90 and 91. Those were seasons that he did win 2 of his 5 MVPs. Having said that, Nikola Jokic may have had the best season of his career. He averaged 29.6, 12.7 rebounds, 10.2 assists, and nearly 2 steals, but SGA has an advantage here. I mean, he has a better team. The Thunder finished with 18 more wins than the Nuggets. Jokic became the 3rd player in NBA history to be in the top 2 in MVP voting in 5 straight seasons. The other ones to do that, Larry Bird and Bill Russell. But let's be real clear about what happened here. Like I said, SGA has a better team. And in the NBA right now, the award for most valuable player is not who is the most valuable. That is without a question Nikola Jokic. Do you realize Jokic has now played 839 career games without a teammate that was either an All-Star, All-NBA, or All-Defense that year? That is the most by any NBA player in the history of ever. Hey, the NBA MVP award goes to the best player on the best team. That's what the writers do. That's fine. But it isn't the most valuable player. Let's be real clear about that. Because there is no one more valuable to their team than Nikola Jokic is to the Denver Nuggets. We can prove that statistically. But there are 2 things at play here. 1, SGA is the best player on the best team. And 2, writers are lazy and don't want to write the Jokic story again. So they vote for someone new. We've seen it a million times, and they did it again this year. Speaking of those Denver Nuggets, owner Josh Kroenke didn't waste any time finding the next head coach of those Nuggets. All he had to do was walk down the hall of his office and then take the interim tag off of David Adelman. He did that last week, rewarding the 44-year-old for somewhat righting the Nugget ship. I mean, you figure he got the job in just chaos. There was only like 4 games left in the regular season. The Nuggets are frustrated. They don't know what to do. They fire a head coach that gave them their first title, their only title, their only thing even close to a title. And then they went straight into the playoffs, where they were a higher seed against the Los Angeles Clippers, but everyone expected them to lose that series. In fact, most people were predicting a sweep. Instead, Adelman did get them to slip past the Clippers in 7 games, and then they took Oklahoma City to Game 7 as well. which, looking back now, might be better than we expected. So Kroenke gave the job to Adelman. We'll see if he's up to the task. Kroenke said he needs a little more time to decide on a new general manager, but he wanted to name Adelman the head coach so that the organization can gear up towards finding some people to surround Nikola Jokic with. Look, I really hope hiring David Adelman is the right move. And the players seem to be in favor of this move, but hey, that can't always be the determining factor. Because keep in mind, players want who they're comfortable with, not always who would be best for them. Some of these Denver Nuggets players, they need to be a little more uncomfortable. They look way too comfortable at times. I mean, I think back to that series against the Thunder. They were nice. They didn't put out any effort. They need to be a little more uncomfortable. They don't always play hard. They definitely don't always play smart. And I wasn't really that impressed with the adjustments that Adelman made against Oklahoma City. But then again, it looks like the Nuggets are going to play them better than anyone else has so far. So I guess we're going to see what David Adelman has. And we're going to put to the side that he looks a whole lot like Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. We move over to the world of college football, where the college football playoff has now announced they will seed teams by ranking alone. They are going to get away from last year's format after just 1 year. Conference champions no longer automatically get a bye, meaning teams like Boise State and Arizona State last year would have been in much tougher spots. Now, I hate to keep going back to this, but the College Football Playoff Committee keeps trying to make everyone happy. So guess what happens? No one's happy. They don't want to be accused of making the SEC and the Big Ten happy, so they try to make everyone happy, and then the SEC's mad, the Big Ten's mad, Notre Dame's mad, Big 12's mad, the ACC's mad, everybody's mad, nobody likes it. This past season, the top 4 seeds of the tournament were eliminated by the second round. We ended up with the 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the Final Four. And the 8 seed beat the number 7 seed in the final. Now look, I'm all for upsets. I love Cinderella stories, but this is clearly a seeding format issue. And now they're trying to fix it. But I want you to be forewarned, because that college football committee also learned that playoff is a cash cow. And keep in mind, these institutions are going to have to start paying these players officially starting this next year. You know, I just bet that college football playoff committee is going to be talking about expanding that college football playoff as soon as possible. Right now we have 12 teams. Then it's going to be 16 teams. Then it's going to be 24 teams. Then it's going to be 32 teams. Don't say you didn't know, because I'm telling you right now, it is absolutely coming. Staying in the world of college football, there's a growing trend on social media of college programs highlighting the GPA of their different athletic teams. Well, this past season, you might remember that the SMU Mustangs actually made that college football playoff. They qualified as the number 11 seed, well, and then they got taken to the woodshed by the number 6 seed Penn State. Well, hey, the Mustangs are still feeling it these days, because that ACC program jumped on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it last week, and they proclaimed that they had set an academic record, not an athletic record. Now look, I'm all for student athletes getting it done in the classroom. I love that. So I like this trend quite a bit. So what stellar academic accomplishment had the SMU Mustangs achieved? Well, it seems that they were pretty proud of their football team's academic average. Southern Methodist University's social media team posted this little gem. Getting it done in the classroom. Hands clapping. This semester marks the highest full semester GPA in program history. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Not only did SMU get it done on the field, going to the college football playoff, they're getting it done in the classroom. They had the highest GPA in program history. What was that GPA? 2.95.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Okay, look. We know that C's and sometimes even D's get degrees, but are you bragging about it? 2.95? That's below the national average of just regular college students. Now you want credit for something that isn't even good? What are you, SMU? The WNBA? Of course, we all know that the Jacksonville Jaguars moved up to select University of Colorado wide receiver / defensive back Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter in this past NFL draft. Hey, what does Travis Hunter do at this next level? There are many that believe he could be special. I mean, he looked like one of the best receivers in the country. He looked like one of the best defensive backs in the country. There's no question Jacksonville's going to try to build around this kid. Well, I'm going to go ahead and voice a concern. And I'm not going to voice it about his physical ability. I think he's got a lot of tools there. But I just might have to question his intelligence a little bit. Over this past weekend, young Mr. Hunter married his high school sweetheart, Leanna Lene, in a ceremony held down in Georgia. Do you remember Leanna Lene? She's the one that chews him out when he stops to take pictures with his fans or, sign autographs. And then, after hearing the critics on social media, she took to social media to scold all of the naysayers. Yeah, she seems like a real sweetheart. Well, Hunter married her. Okay. Hey, he's young. That's his problem, right? Why in the world would that make me question his intelligence? Well, it seems he did it without a prenuptial agreement.
Are you kidding me?
Hey, I'm sorry, but the road to hell is paved with the best intentions. Dude just might be on his way straight there. Good luck, Travis. Something tells me you're going to need it. Staying in that NFL, where the NFL owners' meetings took place last week, and even the most powerful figures in the NFL were unable to stop the tush push. Despite some late momentum, a proposed ban of that tush push play that the Philadelphia Eagles have popularized did not get enough votes at the spring meetings to actually get rid of it. It's not disappointing for me, for our committee, for the committees that did the work, said NFL competition chairman Rich McKay. It takes 24 votes to pass anything. We don't set a low bar. I've been in that room numerous times where we've had these types of discussions, and one team ends up being, in their mind, more impacted than others, but it still takes 24 votes. Look, I don't have a problem with a tush push. I really don't. If you don't like it, then stop the Eagles from getting to the goal line or getting in 4th and 1. However, having said that, here's what I do have a problem with. You should not be able to push or pull a ball carrier. That has always been banned. And now you can just grab the ball carrier and drag them down the field. If that's the case, and I'm not even making a joke here, why not just get to the goal line and hire some of those guys from the strongman competitions, that throw the big logs or whatever, and just chuck your ball carrier over the line? That aspect of the NFL is absolutely idiotic. I don't care if you ban the tush push. I don't care if you ban him being able to kind of just push his way up in there. But pushing a ball carrier, pulling a ball carrier down the field, I'm sorry. That just isn't football. I don't know what it is, but it sure isn't football. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daly Dose, we need to get over to our Daly Dose Top 5. Hey, we are nearing another NBA Finals, which are actually set to begin next Thursday. And while we still aren't fully sure who's going to make it, we do know that we'll get at least one team that's going to be a little bit of a lower seed, because right now, the number 1 Oklahoma City Thunder are facing the number 6 Minnesota Timberwolves in the West. I would think we're going to get the number 1 seed out of that, but we'll see. But in the East, it's a little more messy, as the number 3 New York Knicks are trying to keep pace with the number 4 Indiana Pacers. So we are going to get a team that at least isn't in the top 2. But could either one of these series produce one of the lower seeds to ever make it to the NBA Finals? Today, our Daly Dose Top 5 is counting down the lowest seeds that have ever made it to the NBA Finals. And I will warn you ahead of time, we've got 3 ties today. So we've actually got a top 6. We got a Daly Dose top 6 today because we've got 3 ties. We start off at number 5 or 6 or whatever. And like I said, we have a tie. 5. And we don't have to go back very far because it was just last year that the number 5 Dallas Mavericks somehow got hot at the right time and they rolled clear to the NBA Finals. The Mavs went 50-32 in the regular season. But then they managed to knock off the number 4 seeded Los Angeles Clippers because, I mean, it's the Clippers. And then Dallas faced the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Thunder were young, and they weren't quite as deep or as experienced then as they are now. And Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, they were just too much. The Mavs won that series in 6 games. They advanced to the Western Conference Finals, and they got to see the same number 3 Minnesota Timberwolves, and they made quick work of them. They beat them in just 5 games. So off went the number 5 Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals, where they faced the number 1 seeded Boston Celtics, and Boston blew them out in 5 games. But hey, a number 5 seed making it to the NBA Finals comes in tied today at number 6 or 5 or 4, whatever. Also tied here was just back in 2020, where the Miami Heat were also a number 5 seed. But that season, honestly, probably shouldn't even count. Because remember, the season had been stopped for the pandemic in March, and the playoffs didn't begin until August. There were no crowds. It was dumb. The Miami Heat were the 5 seed, and they swept the number 4 seed Indiana Pacers down in that goofy playoff bubble in Florida. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo stepped up their game, and the Heat beat the number 3 Milwaukee Bucks in the second round because Milwaukee looked like they didn't want to be there. And then they beat the Boston Celtics in 6 games to go to the finals. But once again, the low seed made it to the finals and were beaten in the finals, as the Los Angeles Lakers won the title in the bubble and then told us how it really mattered and that they were going to be back, but they haven't really been close since, but whatever. The number 5 seed making it to the finals is tied today at number 5 or 4 or 6 or whatever, I don't know. Moving on to the next one, we have another tie. I don't know if this is 3 or 2 or whatever, but we have 2 more teams that are tied for the lowest seeds to make the NBA Finals because we have seen twice the number 6 seed make it to the finals. However, there's one key difference. Back in 1995, the Houston Rockets were actually the defending champions, but they had gone just 47-35 and were the 6th seed in the playoffs. Hey, but the Rockets were a dangerous 6th seed. You had Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and Otis Thorpe, and they were living large because Michael Jordan had retired temporarily. And so the Rockets scraped past the Utah Jazz. They beat the Phoenix Suns and San Antonio Spurs. However, when they made it to the finals, they faced the number 1 seed Orlando Magic, and that Magic team was a little too inexperienced. You had Shaquille O'Neal. You had Penny Hardaway, but they were a little bit too young. The Rockets actually beat the Magic, and they are tied for the lowest seed to make the finals by being a number 6 seed. The difference was they actually won the title. So the Rockets come in tied today at 4, 3, or 2, whatever. Tied with the Rockets at the number 2 slot are another 6 seed that made it to the finals. And yes, it's the same franchise. Because the Houston Rockets actually went to the finals as a 6 seed back in 1981. Now, this team was not all that strong. They finished the season actually under 500. They went 40-42. But Big Moses Malone was carrying them, and he was a handful. And also, the Western Conference kind of slipped up. And Houston just kind of got hot at the right time. The Rockets beat the Lakers in the first round, then the Spurs, and then they beat the Kansas City Kings to make the finals, which kind of tells you how weird this season was. However, when they got to the finals, Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics were waiting for them, and they took care of them in 6 games. But the 6th seed has actually produced 2 finals teams. Both times it was the Rockets, but one of them actually won the title. And the 6th seed today comes in tied at number 2. So we reach the lowest seeds that have ever made it to an NBA Finals. And once again, we have a tie. As we have seen the lowest seed, the very last seed, the number 8 seed, make it to the NBA Finals not once, but twice. The most recent time was just back in 2023 when Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero carried the Miami Heat after going just 44-38 in the regular season, but they got hot in the postseason. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks, the New York Knicks, and the Boston Celtics. They made it to the finals, and then they were eliminated pretty quickly in 5 games by my Denver Nuggets. Also tied with the Heat were the 1999 New York Knicks. Now remember, 99 was a strike season, so teams had only played 50 games. The Knicks finished the season 27-23. They were pretty good. Allen Houston, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, and Latrell Sprewell were dangerous. They barely escaped the young Miami Heat in the first round, then swept the Hawks, handled the Pacers pretty easily, and ran into the San Antonio Spurs in the finals, and they got whooped in 5 games. Hey, whether it is parity in the league or in a conference, or just getting hot at the right time, we have seen a few teams that were lower seeds make it to the NBA Finals. Just remember, those 95 Rockets, they were the only ones that won it all. We will see how low of a seed we end up getting in the NBA Finals this year. Hey, next week on The Dose, we will, of course, keep you up on all that is going on in the world of sports news, and especially in those NBA Finals, which will be getting ready to begin. So be sure to check out The Dose, and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daily Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.